Hi, my name's Jack Mark. I work for the marketing department here at Horizon Hobby. Today I'm going to show you how to put the Spektrum FPV system on your HobbyZone Sport Cub S. First of all, I want to emphasize that the Sport Cub S makes a really good FPV platform because it has safe technology. So if you're new to FPV, having the beginner and the intermediate and the experienced modes, as well as panic recovery mode, can be a very significant assistance as you're learning to fly FPV. If you're not familiar with those modes, I'd encourage you to visit our website, flysaferc.com, and you can learn more about what those modes do. The other thing that's important to note about the Sport Cub S is that we actually had FPV applications in mind when we designed the airplane. So there's actually some things that make it really easy to put the FPV system on this airplane. Like we've included power lead is already in there, and there's a small hole underneath the decal that you can open up to get access to that power lead. So it's very installation is very simple, which is what we're going to talk about today. The other thing that you're going to need, obviously, is the Spektrum FPV system. You have a couple of different options. If you don't already have a headset or a ground monitor to use, you can buy the SPM VS1100, which includes the Teleporter V4 headset and everything else that you need to put FPV on your airplane. It's a great option. However, because I already have a headset and we actually have it hooked up to the television here, we're going to be using this, which is the SPM VA1100, which is just the camera transmitter unit that you need to put on your airplane. Some other things you're going to need some tweezers to fish the power lead out of the airplane. You're going to need some servo tape to attach the camera transmitter unit to the airplane. I've got some scissors here to cut the servo tape. I have an Excel hobby knife. This was actually a gift from the Excel rep when he came by the other day. Fantastic hobby knife. And then I also have the flight pack that we're going to use to power up the airplane to make sure everything's working. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to go ahead and unbox the SPM VA1100 here. So we're going to see what we've got in here. There's only a couple of things in the box. There's some instruction manual. There's an instruction manual in here which I encourage you to read. But the goods here that we're going to put on the airplane is basically just this unit right here. This is really awesome. It's an integrated unit with the SpiroNet antenna and the video camera and the video transmitter all in one unit, and it's really lightweight, so it works well on an ultra micro application like this. So we're going to be using this. The other thing that's in here is a Y harness. So if you're putting this on a different airplane that doesn't have a power supply lead, so most ultra micros do not have an auxiliary power supply lead, you can actually plug this into your flight pack and run the Spektrum FPV system off of your flight pack, off of one flight pack without having to run a separate battery. But because the Sport Cub S already has the auxiliary power lead, we're not going to need this. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back in here. We'll put all this stuff back together and set the box aside. Okay, so then the next thing you're going to have to do is open up the hole on top of the airplane. And to do that, I'm going to use the hobby knife here. And to find the hole, you're going to use the end of your finger here to kind of rub around on the foam until you feel a little dimple. And I don't know if you can see that on the camera here or not, but there's a little bit. I'll see if I can get a glare on there. It might actually show up. Well, it's there. So yeah, you'll be able to feel the dimple. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hobby knife and I'm going to cut towards the edge of that of the soft spot of the hole, and I'm just going to kind of carve around here a little bit carefully, as I don't want to cut into the foam if I can help it, until I get this hole opened up here. There we go. And I don't want this stuff falling down inside of the airplane if I can help it, so I want to see if I can get it to stick to the hobby knife here. I'm actually going to use my tweezers to pull these bits out of here. All right. As you can see, I didn't have to cut through the foam. It's a minor little detail, but it makes the installation that much easier because you don't feel like you're hacking up the airplane as much. And then right down in there, it's going to be really hard to see, so you might have to take my word for it, but there's a power lead down in this hole. So I'm actually going to reach in here with my tweezers. And I got it there. And I'm going to pull that out. Now it actually is taped in place from the factory, so it's going to give a little bit of resistance when you actually get a grip on it. So once I've got it on there, I'm actually going to grab it with my fingers and give it a little tug. Try to grab it by the wires if you can, and not by the end, so you don't pull the end off of the wires. It's not really stuck in there that tight, so shouldn't be a problem. So there I've got the power lead out of the airplane. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put our servo tape, this double stick tape, rather, on the on the camera itself. So just to kind of measure out the right length, I'm going to kind of place the servo tape on the camera like this. We're going to want about that much. So I'm going to put a crease in the tape. There goes my lens cap. I'll take my scissors here. There we go. Okay. I'm going to put this on the camera first. These cases are made of a pretty slick plastic, so I like to really give it a good, you have to be careful about the antenna here because it's pretty delicate, so I like to give it a good squeeze to make sure that I get good adhesion on from the tape to the camera case. And then I'm going to peel the double stick backing off of the double stick tape here, if it'll cooperate. There we go. All right. Last, I'm going to put it on the airplane, and I'm going to put it kind of, if you hold the airplane sort of in the attitude that it's going to be flying, you kind of want it more or less pointed pretty level. That looks pretty good. I'm going to move it back a little bit. Oh. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. Now, as you can see, there's plenty of wire here to plug the video transmitter camera unit into this power lead coming out of the airplane. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. Just like that. And then to get rid of some of this slack, because I don't want all this stuff, flapping around in the breeze or whatever, I'm going to go ahead and tuck it back into the top of the airplane. All right, and that's all it takes to put the Spektrum FPV system on your HobbyZone Sport Cub S. Now, we didn't really mess with the control surfaces at all, so there's no real need to rebind, but because good habits make safe pilots, we're going to go ahead and rebind anyway. So to do that, all you have to do is take your flight pack, plug it into the airplane, wait for the bind light to start flashing inside of the airplane. There it goes. And then I'm going to put my transmitter in bind mode here.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds.
All right, that's all. That should do it. We're going to go ahead and check the control surfaces here as soon as it's done initializing. Okay, everything looks good. The last thing to check is the FPV camera to make sure we're getting feed. Now, instead of trying to hold a headset up to the camera, we've got it hooked up to the television here. So we're going to get that channel switched over and check the feed from the airplane. And that looks pretty good. So a minor note on interference here, you might see a breakup every once in a while. People ask us a lot, quite often, on the range of our FPV system, and it really varies pretty radically from up to 300 feet to even less than 100 feet, depending on what your environment's like. So you need to be aware of things like metal objects. If you're inside a metal building, your range will be radically reduced. So it's also always a good idea to have a spotter and to be familiar, like I said, with the regulations in your area to make sure that you're operating the airplane safely. If you do have any questions about these products or anything else that you've seen in this video, I'd encourage you to go to fpv-rc.com, where there's a bunch of information on that site and you can see all these products. Thanks for watching.